Welcome back everyone to more Motorsport Manager Online, and today we're going to pick up right where we left off as far as the competition goes. Here at the top of the screen you can see we have 0 points. We need 150 points total for our next promotion, and as you've seen in the past, we've been getting promoted at a pretty quick rate, every 3 to 4 races or so on average. But one thing is a little bit different than what you've seen so far. So my point of the series up to this point was to show you, if we started from the very beginning, just what would the gameplay look like, and how quickly could you move through some of these different levels, what cars would you have available, tracks, that kind of thing. But now, at this point, it's been over a week since I have played this game at all and done any recording. The reason is I wanted to let a little bit of time pass and think about a few things that we've encountered so far in the game. So all of the videos you've seen up until now were recorded over basically a 2 to 3 day span, as I wanted to get as much done as quickly as possible at the very beginning of the experience. But now I decided to slow things down a little bit. Like I said, it's been over a week, maybe week and a half or so since I did any recording on this game, because a few things have become evident to me, and these things probably became evident to you a little bit quicker, but for me, I had my mind on other things, so I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention to these things. But first, let's go ahead and do some of the basic things. We've got to renew a contract or find a new driver. Right here, we've got our car is in absolutely great shape. It is maxed out for this particular series, so we're in great shape there. No need to build any parts. Our staff is okay. We still have some more staff that we could hire. We've got HQ upgrades that we could do, but let's go ahead and get that sponsor money. Let's go ahead once again and go through these needless screens that we've been through 100 times, it seems like, at this point, that I can't seem to figure out a way to get around. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just collect. I'm not using the advertisements to double up or gain any additional money. All right, here we're going to go. We could get some additional tokens, which are very nice, and I have done that a little bit during this time. As I mentioned, it's been about a week to a week and a half since I've played the game, but you can see right now we have $5.5 million, which is really not that big a deal. All that amounts to, for me, is just taking the free cash every 6 hours or so, and then also coming in and getting that sponsor money. So I've done that once, maybe twice a day for the most part. So not a huge amount. We definitely could have gotten more during that time frame. But one of the things that has really disappointed me, once I actually stopped to think about it, was this leaderboard. So we've been following it along, and we've been seeing, the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in race winnings that we've been getting. And we've been following along as we moved our way up the leaderboard. The problem with that is I thought we were going to get some sizable amounts, maybe not exactly the numbers that were over here, which were our race winnings, but I thought we were going to get some very nice amounts. It turns out it's not even close to that. I was extremely disappointed when the payout happened, and the payouts are actually over here on the left hand side. Again, not something I paid a whole lot of attention to because I wanted to wait and see sort of how it worked. And what we ended up getting was like 25,000 or 50,000, which is a completely pointless amount of money in the grand scheme of things. You can get more than that from a small sponsor. And so it was very disappointing. So at this point, I basically don't even care about this leaderboard, because even if you finish in the top 1%, it's only 150,000. And like I said, you can easily get much more money than that just by using the sponsors. So that was very disappointing to me. But now, let's take a look at a few other things. So we've got the HQ projects. And for those of you who have played the PC version, you know that this is one of the huge investments you make in the game. And this is how ultimately you're going to decide how competitive you're going to be. How competitive are your front and rear wings going to be? How about your engines and so on? You have different buildings for all these things. Well, in the online version, it is very different than this. The mobile version is very different from what we saw in the PC version. And I must say at this point, I much prefer the PC version. Because as you look, we're spending money. We're at the level 3 HQ level right now. But as we look at some of these upgrades, now this is a nice one. Excellent engineers can now appear in the applicant pool. Obviously, this takes quite a bit of staff to do and a good bit of time. However, that is a nice one. You get better engineers, so better staff, not bad at all. You can get one engineer applicant slot. That, to me, is not worth a whole lot. I mean, it's nice to have, but it's not worth a whole lot to me. Plus 15 XP per race for drivers. Again, that's nice, but it's really not worth a whole lot. And I certainly wouldn't think of this as a level 3 upgrade. Then the next one is one extra token from the sponsor deals. Again, it's nice to have, but it's really just not what I'm looking for. It's nothing here that says, man, I can't wait to get there. So this part is starting to get a little stale for me. The more I think about it, once I was in the midst of that first few days of recording, it was nice. I mean, we got some nice things unlocked, but there's really nothing that is looking at me and saying, man, I've got to hurry up and get to that level so I can get that upgrade. Now, there might be a few as you continue to upgrade that are really good, but for the most part, it's very anticlimactic for me. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and set that aside for a moment and get back to the racing side of things, because one of the issues that I have had, and I've noticed in some of the comments that you guys have had as well, is it gets tiresome seeing the exact same drivers in the races for every team. Now, what I'm trying to do at this point is I want to try to keep these drivers for as long as is reasonable. And the way I'm going to determine that is when we reach a point to where we're no longer finishing well, even though we have a top flight car that is either fully upgraded or very close to it, then I'll look at changing drivers. But for right now, it's getting very old to see the same drivers on every team in every race. It breaks some of the immersion for me. I've mentioned that in the past, and again, like I said, I've seen some of you guys mention that in the comments, and I totally agree with you. However, to defend the developers here a little bit, there are at sometimes 17,000, 18,000 people online. There's no way for them to have different drivers for every car and every team. It's just no way to do that realistically. So I get where they're coming from, but it is definitely one of my least favorite parts of the game. So what I'm going to try to do now is I want to keep Jessica around. Now, she's got some great stats. She improves both herself as well as her teammate. But, of course, she's going to reach a point where she tops out. But for right now, we're going to keep her around, as well as I plan on doing the same thing over here for David until they are just clearly hurting the team to where we cannot any longer get done what we need to get done. Now, the number of races really doesn't matter a whole lot. It's going to save you some money. But again, money is easy to come by in this game, particularly at this point in the playthrough. The HQ upgrades are getting more and more expensive, prohibitively so if you play a lot. But for the most part, it's just really not that big a deal. So I'm going to go ahead and offer her what I hope is enough. But again, even if we have to go to the highest number, I still don't think that's going to be that big a deal. We're going to leave this support staff at 30, which is the minimum. Again, I still don't know what this is actually accomplishing in the grand scheme of things. And we're going to leave her at an equal car, which, of course, is our goal. So I'm hoping this will be good enough. But if we have to increase the money, I'm certainly not overly worried about that either. Let's go ahead and confirm that. And okay, so it would appear as though she wants the full money, which again, we might be able to get a better driver for that amount of money, but I'm not worried about that. So we got to make our final offer. And right now, if I do the 50, of course, that's going to affect how much staff we have available. Let's go ahead and do that just to make sure, because at this point, this should get it done. And if it doesn't, then I guess we'll go find another driver. So let's go ahead and hit confirm there. And sure enough, okay. So we got that done. Now we get to keep her along. Of course, she's got great stats for the most part. Race starts are definitely not good. But other than that, really good stats. And that brings us to the driver traits. Now, there was an update a couple of days ago, 2 or 3 days ago at this point, for the game. And it nerfed some of it said the driver strategies as well as some of the driver traits. So I'm not sure exactly what that entails. I did not go search out an update log to see exactly what it is, but supposedly it nerfed some of the driver traits as well as some of the strategies. So we'll see if that plays a role. But at this point, I think everything is all set. We've got 40 staff. In fact, let's just go ahead and look at the staff. Let's see, view the staff. And once again, needless screens. And okay, so we can hire 20 more staff at this level of HQ. So we'll go ahead and do that. We don't necessarily need them right now, but we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. We're at the max number of staff at this point. Okay, we got 5 races remaining with our engineer. And let's see, that reminds me the HQ has a project involved for just such a thing. Excellent engineers can now appear in the applicant pool. All right, that's what we want, but we need a little bit more staff. So we have overdone it as far as the staff goes. Let's see if any of the rest of these are really worth our time. I like this one, an additional slot. Again, as I mentioned before, it's nice to have, but not something that's got me just clamoring to have it at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of that. So we'll let that go for the next little while. All right, so now we've got drivers signed, we've got sponsors signed, everything is all set. I think we're ready to go to the track. All right, today's first race will be at Vancouver. Pretty high chance of rain, 31%, not terribly surprising for this track. We need to finish 3rd or above, and that should be more than reasonable. So we're going to be using soft tires for each. I don't see any rain right now, and none in the first 3 laps. So we'll see how that goes over the course of the race. Hopefully it doesn't bite us as far as our pit stop strategy. But let's just see what we get. Qualifying underway now. Here you can see some of the other teams. Again, my guess is that some of these are on the AI side of things instead of actual players. But you just never know. So 2nd and 6th, okay, I'm perfectly happy with that. All right, so we got 9 laps. Let's see, what do we have here? 30%, that'll easily get us 3 laps. And Monroe, okay, so we can actually go, we can actually attack a little bit with her, but I do not want to drain that reliability too quickly, so I'm going to hold off a little bit on that. We're just going to see how things play out a little bit right now, but I do plan on doing a 2-stop strategy with each of these, weather notwithstanding. We'll see how that goes. So we're back to 4th and 7, so not a great start to the race. We know that neither of our drivers really have a great race start driver trait, so that's not terribly surprising. All right, so here is a great opportunity to see here on lap 2 the difference in driver smoothness. So we're at 57% versus about 50%. So a full 7% difference after just a couple of laps, 7 to 8%. All right, so now we are ready to start. All right, I'm going to go soft tires. I don't see anything to indicate that that's a bad idea. And we're going to start attacking a little bit here. And again, you can see that reliability coming down, so I'm going to attack sparingly for right now. All right, let's see if we can make up anything here. So now we're 5th and, wow, 11th. So we've dropped down some, and this is not where we want to be running. However, I do look at this as a possibility to make things more interesting in the future. And I say that because, let's be honest, if you're constantly winning races, finishing on the podium, that kind of thing, then it takes some of the fun away, particularly for me. It really does, because it means that, you know, there's really no challenge to the game. And I would have expected by this point, we've run enough races that and moved up enough through the different tiers and classes that I would have expected a bigger challenge, an opportunity for us to be struggling at the back of the field a little bit more than what we really have been. All right, let's go ahead and set up some pit stops again. We are going to go... All right, can we push a little bit? Well, maybe a touch. Let's continue pushing just a little bit and see how this goes. Maybe for a lap or so. Again, I don't want to get below that 20% if at all possible. Okay, pit stops are now done with both cars. We got plenty of reliability here with David, but it's a little bit different here. But the good news is Monroe is in a great spot. You can see the leader has run out of tire. And I'm sure they're coming into the pits this time by. So we are pushing really hard. This should give us the lead, and I'm going to have to really back off of this. I'm going to go back to neutral because we're down below 20% right now, but I do not want to give away this victory. I want to see what kind of race pace we've got here. Unfortunately, David is just not performing the way I would like to see him right now in this race. But Monroe is doing great. So final lap. Let's go ahead and back things down and go really conservative here. We're at 8%. I mean, my goodness. Let's go low on that. I think we've still got enough speed to hold on to the lead, but this is why I wanted to be very careful about pushing at all. It looks like we're going to make it, still at 8% reliability, and we're on the start-finish straight, and there you have it. We'll bring home the victory. All the way up to 7th position. Is that going to be where we finish with David? Indeed it is. Actually, no, we picked up another spot, 6th position. So 1st and 6th, not bad at all. It was definitely looking a little bit worse than that for quite a while, but we were able to bring home the victory. All right, so this is one good step. I'm seeing different drivers' names here. That is a very good thing. Nothing worse than seeing Jessica Monroe finishing 1st and 2nd or 1st and 3rd. All right, so we're going to ignore this for now. We're not going to be writing any reviews at the moment. So once again, team places in 1st position. That's 33 points. Now you can see how many races we're going to need if we continue to do pretty well. Just how many races. So probably around 5 races is what I would expect it to take. I don't expect to win every race. And in fact, I'm hoping we don't win every race. So we're getting, all right, some sheet metal plus 3 gears, 2 copper wire, 9. All right, I like it. That's definitely going to help out. The good news is we got a chance to stockpile some different parts and materials right now because we don't need to build any new parts. So that is very good. So once again, we're back to this leaderboard, and at this point, I really just don't care what it's doing. It's just not enough money at stake over here for me to spend a great deal of time worrying about that anymore. It was nice to see us climbing up the leaderboard, but at this point, just not worth it anymore to worry about. All right, so now let's go forward, and this should be our opportunity to make some repairs or improve the performance. We'll see what we get. All right, there's a -3 performance. -3 performance. Okay, so am I correct that this is a 420? Yes. Okay. All right, so not bad. This should be a 250. So still not too bad at all. So what I need to do right now, we saw in the last race, Jessica Monroe did not have any luck. We weren't able to push very much at all, and still we almost ran out of reliability. So what I want to do is I want to fix some reliability. We got a plus 15% here, so that is awesome. That'll get us up to 82. So that's good. Still not as high as we want. We still need to do some more work here, and I'm still hoping that we can get an engineer at some point that will allow us to work on 2 parts after a race, because that is something that I really miss from the PC version. All right, so there is race 1 in the books. Again, nothing really to do here. We're looking in great shape, both as far as staff goes, car goes. Drivers, once again, are in good shape. Not great, but good. And as I look around, everything appears to have been taken care of. So let's get busy on race number 2. And guess what? Looks like we're headed right back to Vancouver again for our second race. I wish there was an opportunity to have more of a schedule, but I guess again, since you're doing a mobile online version, then you're just sort of stuck with the luck of the draw. All right, we're going to stick with this, even though there's always a good chance of rain. And of course, we have a rain strategy, but I'm going to leave it at soft tires for both, as I feel like that gives us the best opportunity. Hoping that we have a little bit more opportunity to push with Jessica in this race, since we improved her reliability a little bit. So I'm really hoping that that comes through. Let's go ahead and move forward, see what kind of qualifying result we got. Okay, 3rd and 5th. Not bad at all. Again, Jessica has good qualifying, mostly because she has that extra bonus on the soft tire. So I would expect to see similar numbers here. It's what we had before. Yep, these look very much the same. All right, so we'll let the online connection get all sorted out. As you see, cars absolutely everywhere for the first few corners, maybe even the first lap overall. We will not be pushing, so it would not surprise me to lose some spots like we did in the previous race. But right now, so far, so good. This is where you like things to spread out a little bit, especially when you're running at the front of the pack. Give your guys an opportunity to just sort of see what you can do without being right in the middle of everything, since we don't have the greatest overtaking or defending stats in general. So sitting here for 3rd and 4th, and really basically just fighting amongst ourselves right now. So as I take a glimpse at the tire wear, it would appear as though David is basically in line with these other guys. However, Jessica has extra tire given her driving stats. So that is very nice, in fact. But David, again, seems to be pretty much in line there. Let's go ahead and set up everything. I almost forgot. Actually, let's try something here. What is... Wow, we can do... let's try a little different strategy. Now, you might have noticed that based on these percentages, we can actually get by running some extra time with Jessica. So I'm going to try it in this race. We already know what happens when we go with the standard 2-stop strategy with her. So let's move this around a little bit. Something that we could have done in the last race. So let's try it in this race. So 20% per lap. All right, so we're going to stay down here because this will give us 5 laps. Now, granted, we're going to run out of tire right at the end of this race if that happens, but I want to see what happens right here. Let's see what we can do. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to David with our focus, because I don't need to forget to bring him into the pits. He is at 30% per lap, and so what we need to do is bring him in now, next time by. Now that he's past the start-finish line for lap 6, we'll go ahead and set him up on his pit stop, and that will be his final pit stop. Now, Monroe has already made her final pit stop. We're going to see if she can make it to the very end. And my guess is leaving out a pit stop, being able to skip that, should be a huge advantage. Given that we're still on the soft tire, so we're still getting the benefit of the additional speed for her because of the strategy we've chosen. And so far, she's looking really good. We know 20% per lap is what she's losing based on this conservative driving style. And yeah, this is going very well. As long as it doesn't rain, which it doesn't appear as though it's going to, then we are well out ahead. You can see ahead of our teammate by over 13 seconds at this point. And remember, all we really need is 20% tire remaining for this final lap as we come back around to the start-finish line, and we have right at that. So the percentages were pretty much dead on as far as the amount of wear per lap that we take. But as long as that's the case, we will have no trouble bringing the victory home. So it looks like we're going to get a pretty easy 1-2 finish here. So here we come. We've got basically no tire left, but we didn't need any more. We had just enough for what was needed. So we're going to finish 1 and 2 in this race. So that is actually better than I thought. So there is a little bit of variety, a little bit of seemingly randomness to the finishing positions, as we didn't do nearly this good in the last race. All right, so once again, I want to take a look at the names on the podium. In this case, we only get to look at one extra name, and that is not one of our drivers, so that is a very good thing. So 43 points there. That comes from a first and a second, as opposed to what we had in the previous race, which was a first and a sixth. 300K for the race winnings, 200 for the race purse, plus an additional 100,000 for reaching our bonus target. And let's see, what do we get here? All right, we're still getting tons of copper wire, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. At least we hope not. A couple more gears and a little bit more aluminum. Again, we'll take all of that stuff we can get. And as I look down through, we can see a familiar driver here. There's Matt Tifft. And a couple of Matt Tiffs. I see a few others. Oh yeah, several Matt Tiffs as we look. All right, so these are some different drivers. I like it. Not a lot of repeat, at least for us anyway. Not a lot of repeat drivers. All right, so not bad at all. Let's see what kind of parts we have, what kind of performance loss we get. And I'm hoping that we can do some more repair work on Jessica's car so that we can actually push a little bit in the future. Didn't need it in that last race, that's for sure. But it's sure nice to have whenever you need it. All right, so I'm not terribly worried about David's car. He definitely needs some performance work, but right now, he doesn't seem to be in all that bad a shape. So my major concern is reliability here. So we're going to continue to try to work on this without allowing his performance to get too terribly low. Again, everything is cruising right along, and in fact, a little bit too good at this point. Looks like we got some upgrades. Let's go ahead and take care of that. So we've got upgrade to a level 2, so you can see he is just getting started in his journey. Upgrade to level 7 here for Jessica. All right, so right now what we want is race pace. Okay, plenty of things that we could be improving, but race pace is where we want to be, at least for right now anyway. All right, that brings him to a 75 overall. Races up now to 88, which is very good. Again, we want to get this somewhere in the mid-90s before her driver trait is applied. So now we're at a 93. You can see with this driver trait, we can actually get above 100. So that's always nice. So 97 here. Smoothness is amazing. Where do we want to go, quite frankly? Looks like race starts is really our best option. That's the one thing that is definitely holding us back with her, is her starts. The starts generally aren't all that good. We usually lose at least 3 or 4 spots, and then we have to turn around and get those back, usually through our strategy. All right, so not bad at all. So we've got level 3, level 8, and of course with that +5 on the team chemistry, these stats look really good overall. And of course, anytime you can see purple in here, then you know you're headed in the right direction. So as we head back to the home screen, everything is on go for right now. We've caught up a little bit on sort of my thoughts on the game. And at this point, it is different than the PC version. In some ways, it's a little bit better. Other ways, there are things I really don't like, changes that they've made from the PC version, but that's the nature of the beast. This is a mobile game, an online version of the game, so you expect that there are going to be some changes, some for the better, some that you may not prefer. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned for more Motorsport Manager Online.